They always wait for the weekend to reveal the truth. They wait until people are not paying attention. Most Americans are focused on the Supreme Court pick and different societal issues going on. They're not paying attention to the real stories. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Had it not been for BLM and COVID and all that, the number one stories that would be leading across the world, really, would be scientific. The Chinese have put a lander on the moon now. That's no real big story. The information being garnered from this, the telemetry, pretty much debunks everything NASA said about what happened in 1969. The entire Apollo project has to have been faked. We're going to cover that in today's video. It's a very small article that no one is talking about, but it shows that the people who have critically looked at this have gotten the story right. Back in 1969, there was no way they could have known the level of technology that we would get with imagery and being able to enhance photographs. It's going to be something that they're going to have a very, very hard time explaining. Now, here is the story. Sorry about that. New measurements show moon has hazardous radiation levels. Now, this is one of the pieces of evidence that so-called quote-unquote conspiracy theorists have put forth saying, wait a minute, the Van Allen belts have so much radiation, there's no way human beings could have survived the trip, much less any amount of time on the surface, especially in direct sunlight, on the moon. And they said, well, there was, this protection and that protection. Wait until you read this. You're not going to believe it. Quote, future moon explorers will be bombarded with 2 to 3 times more radiation than astronauts aboard the International Space Station, a health hazard that will require thick-walled shelters for protection. Let me say this again. A health hazard that will require thick-walled shelters for protection, scientists reported Friday. China's lander on the far side of the moon is providing the first full measurements of radiation exposure from the lunar surface. Vital information for NASA and others aiming to send astronauts to the moon, the study noted. A Chinese-German team reported on the radiation data collected by the lander, named, I hope I say this right, Chang'e 4, for the Chinese moon goddess in the U.S. journal Science Advances. Quote, this is an immense achievement in the sense that now we have a data set which we can use to benchmark our radiation, meaning we didn't have one before, and better understand the potential risk to people on the moon. The potential risk to people on the moon, said Thomas Berger, a physicist with the German Space Agency's Medicine Institute. This is just fantastic. Astronauts would get 200 to 1,000 times more radiation on the moon than what we experience on Earth, or 5 to 10 times more than passengers on a transatlantic airline flight, noted Robert Wimmer Schweingruber of Christian Albrechts University in Kiel, Germany. The difference is, however, that we're not on such a flight for as long as astronauts would be when they're exploring the moon, he said. Cancer is the primary risk. Humans are not really made for these radiation levels and should protect themselves when on the moon, he added. Meaning more than just some random flimsy spacesuit made of some kind of 1960s era material. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Radiation levels should be pretty much the same all over the moon, for those of you who are saying, well, that's the dark side of the moon. No. Except for near the walls of deep craters. Basically, the less you see of the sky, the better. That's the primary source of radiation. Radiation levels are close to what models had predicted. In fact, the levels measured by Chang E4 agreed nearly exactly with measurements by a detector on a NASA orbiter that has been circling the moon for more than a decade. So it's nice to see, quote unquote, confirmation of what we think and our understanding of how radiation interacts with the moon is as expected, said Lee, who was not involved in the study. Now, you're going to love this. It gets even better. The space agency said it will have radiation detectors and a safe shelter aboard all Orion crew capsules flying to the moon. As for the actual landers, 3 separate corporate teams are developing their own craft with NASA oversight. Wait a minute. I thought NASA already had craft that were perfectly fine for going to the moon over and over and over and over again. I thought we had that since 1960. Something. 69? For the first Artemis moon landing, at least, the astronauts will live in the ascent portion of their lander. The German researchers suggest shelters built of moon dirt, readily available material for stays of more than a few days. The walls should be 2.5 feet thick. The walls should be 2.5 feet thick. They said any thicker, and the dirt will emit its own secondary radiation created when the galactic cosmic rays interact with the lunar soil. Unbelievable. I mean, and nobody is saying anything about this. Nobody is saying, sir, I have a question. Nobody's raising their hand saying, I thought this was accepted science, that we already did this 50 years ago. Oops. Oops. Oh well. Anyway, to finish off the end of this video, I would like to address another channel. Now, I really try to stay away from this because, we all have our own little worlds online, and I hate to trespass, but Mr. MBB333, I think that's who the channel is. Let me look here. Yeah, Mr. MBB333, all caps except for the R, put out a video, 23 September, it says melting ice reveals WW2 submarine in Antarctica. Now, this image that he pulled up, I believe, is a stock photo of what he found, and I've actually gone to the location that he's provided, and I think I pretty much agree with him. I think he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. It's here on the left. Now, one thing he didn't do in his video that I wish he would have was measure the submarine, and I think if he had, he would have been able to narrow down the candidates of which submarine this is. How it got here, I don't know. I really don't know, but the fact that it is one, I think is without a doubt the truth. Now, the reason I say this, I went ahead and kind of took a screenshot of the image from his video and kind of enhanced it a little bit to kind of show the image. Now, this, once again, this is a stock photo, I believe, that he found that looks like a World War II submarine based on the shape he is seeing here on the left. So, narrowing it down, I think this is the submarine. It's P222. It's actually a British submarine. How it, like I said, how it got there, I don't know. But the story of how HMS P222 was lost is very, very suspect. Now, real quick, let me bring up Google Earth again and show you why I think this is the case. All right, so this is the image, and I will, of course, give you the coordinates. What you can do with Google Earth Pro is you can bring up a ruler function. Now, this is really sometimes quite difficult when I'm doing the videos the way that I do them. I've got to turn the light down. There we go. So you guys can actually see the small writing down here, but it's the length that matters. And of course, when I do this, the camera angle changes and the lighting is very different. Let me go ahead and do the measurement. Starting here at the bow. In meters. Okay, the first time I measured this, it was right on about 66 meters, so 66.45. You have to adjust for a little bit of distortion with the camera, but generally the image that you're looking at is 66 meters long. So within the realm of possibility, you're not looking at something that's 10 feet long or something that's 5,000 feet long. You're looking at something that's 66.45 meters or 218 feet long. When we go to the wiki for HMS P222, it is an S-class submarine. 865 long tons, 217 feet, 66.1 meters. 23 feet at the beam, 14 foot 8 inch draft. So it's right on. It's absolutely right on for size. It's right on for shape. And here is the problem with the story. P222 left Gibraltar to patrol off Naples on 30 November 1942. She sent a number of messages on 7 December, but after that date, no further communication was received. She failed to arrive at Algiers on her due date and was reported overdue on 21 December. The Italian torpedo boat Fortunal claimed to have sunk a submarine with depth charges on 12 December southeast of Capri. This remains the most probable cause of the submarine's loss, but there has been no confirmation. Her wreck was claimed to have been found by a Belgian amateur diver, but this has not been confirmed. Meaning there's no images, there's no pictures, there's no confirmation that she's on the seafloor in the Mediterranean. This is the exact kind of story they would cook up if a ship like this was on some secret mission to maybe go check out what the Germans were doing in Antarctica. And that's how it might have ended up there. I don't know of any other plausible explanation for that image. It's 66 meters long. That's exactly how long this submarine is. It looks visually just like this submarine. It really does. And let me bring this back up to full screen. Where it is would make sense. And it would go with a lot of other things that we have found. We found an aircraft down there that was crashed. And looked at it from all sorts of different angles. And the thing about the aircraft is that the area that was being imaged for that one, they had imaged twice in high resolution in less than 48 hours. Why would you do that? Well, and in this particular case, why would you do this here? This is the 10/30/2004 layer. So day before Halloween, I guess, in 2004. And that's when the image allegedly was taken. So Mr. MBB333, in this particular case, absolutely got it 100% right. This is a great find. It's a difficult find. This would be an easy one to miss. Being on the side of this glacier and just coming out of the ice now, there's a lot of questions left to be answered about this, of course. And if you want to, you could ask 1,000 questions. And people should. People shouldn't be afraid to ask questions about anything, especially moon landings. And that's why I put these two things together. Because now, here 50 years later, we've got definitive proof and evidence that just, flopping and bouncing around on the moon in a lander, with your own little personal 4x4 and taking pictures like you're in your backyard didn't happen. It didn't happen. And it simply was something that they thought or didn't think we would ever have the ability to do what we do now with imagery. It's a technology issue. So, anyway, I will leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.